Thanks for joining us for this symposium. I'm Bill Rapisi, President and CEO of the Lymphatic Education Research Network. LE&RN's mission is to fight lymphatic diseases through education, research, and advocacy. In order to win a fight, you first have to join it. So we ask, please become a supporting member of LE&RN at lymphaticnetwork.org. And we hope you enjoy today's symposium.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the LE&RN online symposium session. I'm Dr. Kimberley Steele, and I have the opportunity to talk all about a brand new government agency called ARPA-H and an incredible funding opportunity for our lymphatic community. And with that, I'm going to move forward here. So, to start with, I have this young man up here, and I want to take this opportunity to thank LE&RN, the entire team, and Bill Rapisi for giving our team, ARPA-H, this platform today. My goal first is to explain what ARPA-H is, its mission, and, as mentioned, the incredible funding opportunity it's going to bring to our lymphatic community. It's a real honor to be here amongst all of you and to be back here at home with LE&RN. Today, my goal is, I hope, to share some hope to all of you out there who are suffering with a lymphatic condition, and to invite our researchers and clinical investigators, industry, pharma, small startups, to our Proposers Day, which is coming up on May 21st in Philadelphia. And I'll share more information about that at the end. So to start off, before I jump in to my professional role representing ARPA-H, I want to first bring some information about me for personal and share with you my why. And this is this young man up here on the screen that I'm sharing with you. This is my son, my amazing son, Michael P. And it's because of him that I'm here today. Representing our lymphatic community, and hopefully we're going to see some great movement in our research and acceleration. So to briefly let you know, some of you may know my story, but at the age of 6, after a very long year of diagnostic odyssey, despite having 2 parents who are doctors, my husband an internist and me a surgeon, and both at Johns Hopkins, Michael was diagnosed with an ultra-rare lymphatic condition. It's called Kaposiform lymphangiomatosis. We were told by our doctors that we should probably not go home to read about it. It was too dire, that his life expectancy was about 35% at 5 years. Of course, after initially being totally blindsided, feeling isolated, alone, and frankly, downright terrified, I was able to put on my surgeon hat and my mama bear instincts to reach out to everyone and anyone I could for help. What we quickly learned was not only was this disease rare, ultra rare, but that it affected a body system that was completely underappreciated and ignored, our lymphatic system. And what I also learned quickly as we navigated the healthcare system to save Michael was that, unfortunately, scientists like myself, when I was at Johns Hopkins, we sit in silos, not because they want to, not because I wanted to, but because the system creates silos. Resources are scarce, time is precious, and discovery, those amazing ideas we come up with, we hold close to our chest for fear of being scooped. But as a mom, we hope for a different approach. And the way that my husband and I survived this diagnosis was I couldn't read about it. He read. But I, again, reached out to everyone and anyone that I could. One of those important people was Dr. Stan Roxon. Within 30 minutes after he replied to my email, we met, he listened, and he invited our entire family to a scientific conference where I met some of the LE&RN team, where I met incredible scientists, our whole family did, and I met Bill Rapici and Phyllis too. And now Michael is 14 years old, and I'm very, very grateful to say that he's doing really well and he's stable. And that's because of a group of scientists who came together, and Michael was like a power of one. In that event, we also met, as I mentioned, Bill Rapici, and I joined Lymphatic Education Research Network in 2022 to help the researchers accelerate research. And that's where I learned about ARPA-H. And in a minute, I'll put on my professional hat to talk about ARPA-H. But in the meantime, what I'd like to do is share a video with you. And this is a video to explain the lymphatic system. And why it's so important is it's a crash course. During COVID, my kids used a lot of crash course, their educational videos, and one of them happened to be about the lymphatics. And when I went to talk to ARPA-H about the lymphatic system, I used this video.
Let's say you're at the airport. You're waiting in line to get through security. You're in your socks, in public, and you're wrestling with those plastic bins, and people are yelling at you about dumping liquids and taking your laptop out of your bag. But even with a certain amount of chaos, the line moves pretty quickly. I mean, it should, theoretically, because really everyone has the same goal, to get to where they need to be. Now, you probably think at this point that I'm setting you up to talk about stress or anxiety or something, but I am not. Instead, I want you to imagine that security line as being like your blood, moving through your high-pressure circulatory system. And you, my friend, are not just some impatient traveler in a hurry to catch the next plane to Seattle. You are a bit of blood plasma. And the biggest concern of everyone in your queue is just to get delivered to their destination. But the problem with rushing stuff through a blood vessel or through a security line is that if it moves too fast, you run the risk that something bad might get through. So in the case of the line at the airport, every now and then, the security people funnel some random folks over to a slower line for a full pat down and a bag check. And that is kind of what your lymphatic system does. It takes up some extra fluid, and while it's ultimately helping it get to its destination, it runs a background check to make sure it's legit. It may not be as well known as some of your other more popular organ systems, but your lymphatic system quietly plays a vital supporting role to both your cardiovascular and immune systems. For one thing, it maintains your homeostasis by eventually returning most of the fluid that has been diverted back into your blood. Which is good, because if it didn't, your ankles would swell up like balloons, your lungs would fill with fluid, and your blood volume and pressure would drop to the point where your body would just give up and you would die. But the lymphatic system isn't just another security line. It also has a series of checkpoints that are staffed by special security officers that have the ability to take care of small infections on the spot. Or if they really don't like the looks of what they've found, they can alert the whole immune system to take it down. So for keeping your blood volume levels where they need to be, for keeping you from collapsing from low blood pressure, and for preventing you from dying from a staph infection every time you scrape your elbow, you have to thank the unsung hero of your anatomy, your lymphatic system.
Okay, so to start off, and I'm still there with everyone, I hope, let's get my professional hat on and talk to you about the ARPA-H model, Transforming Health for All. And I'm representing the Advanced Research Projects Agency for Health as a program manager. I'd like to, while I'm on this topic, thank my amazing team and shout out to all of my technical experts, including Joshua Hooks and a brand new addition, Jenny Gu, and also our business financial manager, Maddie McQuaid. ARPA-H's mission is to accelerate better health outcomes for everyone. And in 2022, President Biden had a vision. He said he wanted ARPA-H as a new startup government agency to pursue ideas that break the mold and how we normally support fundamental research and commercial products in this country. He wanted ideas, and I love this part, so audacious that people say they just might work only if we could try. And he said, well, we're about to try in a big way. And I felt the same way about the lymphatic system when Bill Rapici, came to a team meeting and said, ARPA-H, let's look into that. So the ARPA-H model is all about a other model called DARPA, which was the Defense Agency Research Projects, and it was all about national security. It still is. And things that came out of the DARPA model included the internet. It included mRNA vaccines. Our COVID vaccine started with DARPA, and also self-driving cars. So what we had, ARPA-H had envisioned was a similar model for health. It is an independent organization. It sits under our Human Health Services, HHS, and it the agency reports directly to the Secretary Becerra. So it is at the same level as NIH, but not under NIH, and it has a different type of funding mechanism with the idea that we accelerate bold and audacious research ideas and get them to the community, to the public quickly. The ARPA-H health ecosystem is including everyone. It includes the stakeholders, that's all of the government entities, NIH, CDC, FDA. It also includes performers, the ones that we are going to ask to come and do this research. That includes our academic community, industry, non-government, private sector, and anyone who wants to do that research and has the ability to do it. It also is important to include our customers, and that includes patient advocacy groups, our clinicians, because they're going to be using their technology, and of course, the consumer, our public. The program is interesting, and it took me a good year to understand it, or the model of this. But what happens is ARPA-H identifies a program manager, someone with a creative idea, a cool idea, something audacious and bold that needs to be de-risked because funding is really difficult to get in other areas. And they then assign that program manager to meet with all the stakeholders and learn about the gaps, the challenges, and the opportunities to create a program, a funding program. The program manager doesn't have a lot of time. My director, I hear it all the time. She says, every 2 weeks that goes by is 1% of a program manager's time. So there's quite a lot of urgency to get this done and be successful. We have approximately 3 years, maximum of 6, to get some success in the technology. And interestingly, nobody at ARPA-H stays longer than about 6 years. And that creates this creativity and makes things so that they're not so stale within the organization. The life cycle goes like this. We design a program, which I'm going to talk to you about today, the first program. We then solicit our researchers, our performers, we call them, the ones that are coming with solutions. And then we have them execute these very specific metrics and milestones through a contract. It's not a grant, it's a contract. And if they meet those milestones, they continue. If they don't, then we try to mitigate them. If we can't mitigate them, then that funding stops and we try another approach. And then at the end, what we want to do is to be able to take that technology and transition it out to what the ARPA-H crew call it, the Wild West, where investors or companies take it on, or organizations, and make it that we can get it to the public. There are a total of 5 mission offices. The first one is called the Project Accelerator Transition Innovation Office, a mouthful, but easier to say PATIO. And they help ensure that the program will survive once it leaves ARPA-H. So they help with transition, commercialization, and regulatory importance with the FDA. Then there's 4 mission offices. There's the Health Science Futures, where I sit under, and that is where we want to take technology, platforms, and tools, and then expand them to what's possible. Scalable solutions are ways to reach everyone. How do we scale a product and get it to those that matter? Proactive health is to prevent disease. And the final one, resilient systems, is how do we protect our systems from threats like cybersecurity threats? In the health science future approach, what they've asked us to do is zoom out and look at the big picture, which was easy to do in lymphatics. The big picture is we don't have very good tools for diagnostics, and we have no cures, and treatments are minimal. So we take that idea, the problem, we formulate the problem, we then reach out to our performers and ask for solutions. We provide the resources and support for them to get that technology done through development, and then hopefully some trials, clinical trials. And then we try to expand what is possible by taking that technology and translating it to other diseases, for example. And it really has to be a collaboration. What's really cool, I felt, was that what ARPA-H really encourages is teaming, that we get the best of the best together, no matter what, so people are not in silos any longer. The program lifespan, basically the program manager works with his or her team. We ask our stakeholders what the problems are. We formulate that problem into a program, and then we solicit our performers, we choose our performers, and we launch. And we work together as a team. As we go along, if those teams succeed, they continue. If they're unable to, despite mitigation, we stop and we try a different approach, as mentioned before. And then we transition to the real world, where hopefully all of the community is going to benefit. Just to share one other thing before I get into the program, which I'm really excited about. One of the neat things that ARPA-H has set up are hubs. Congress mandated that not only was there one central location to call home for ARPA-H, but indeed they wanted 3 different geographic locations. And so our director, Dr. Wegresin, and the team came up with a really novel idea of creating hubs and spokes. The other 2 hubs, the first one, sorry, that is the stakeholder hub, is in central DC. And that one is working with all of the government agencies like FDA, NIH, and other legislation, so that we have collaboration and we're all working together. Then there's a customer experience hub, which I'm excited about because it brings in the customer's voice. And that one's located in Dallas, Texas, and will be involved in things like advancing the manufacturing, clinical trials, recruitment, community health labs, and testing of the technology. And then there's the last hub, which is called the Investor Catalyst Hub, located in Boston. And that one is for collaboration so that we get the word out about the technology, so it doesn't just stop before it gets to our community, that we get investors and companies involved early so that it becomes a successful product. And just to show you, again, before I dive into the excitement of our program, just to show you some of the great programs that have already been invested in by ARPA-H and are out there. The Nitro program was the very first, And that one is working towards regenerating joints to be able to cure osteoarthritis and other diseases when it affects our joints. There's one where we're working, it's called PSI, and that one is looking for surgical tools to detect cancer at the cellular level. And so many more, including TIA, which is whole eye transplants for vision. This is a display that is at the Renwick Gallery in DC. And Dr. Wagerson, again, ARPA-H's director, puts this up every time she presents. And so to follow her lead, this one hits home for me and I believe for our entire community. Alicia Eggert made this display, is the creator, and it's called This Present Moment. This present moment used to be the unimaginable future, but here we are. And before, again, I jump into LIGHT, our new program, I'd like to just share with you what came to light for me as a clinician. I thought about, well, how do I diagnose, for example, right upper quadrant pain? If a patient comes in and they have abdominal pain, I do a history and physical exam, and I create a list of possible diagnoses in my head. I then send the patient for lab tests, blood tests, urine tests, and those give us what's called biomarkers, the ability to detect disease. In this case, this lady didn't have any problem with her liver enzymes, which I had suspected she had gallbladder disease. So then I sent her for the next thing in my differential diagnosis, and using what tools I have, I sent her for an ultrasound. Well, that ultrasound came back normal. And so I then sent her for the next imaging study that's going to help me detect the function of the gallbladder. It's called the HIDA-scan. It's a radio tracer that helps us measure how well the gallbladder is working. That came back normal. And so then I send the patient back for a more invasive procedure or more expensive procedure, a CT or an MRI. And that one shows she had some funny looking liver abnormalities. And so I detect that she might have hemochromatosis, rare liver disease. And what do? I send her for genetics because we have genetics to test. But in lymphatics, that's, I think, for the patients out there and the people that are living with lymphatic disease, we don't have those diagnostics. And one of the motivations that I used while trying to figure out how to create the program was from this paper by one of our community members. And the message was this, and think about it, this was written in 2015. These diagnostic approaches that are all here in the box, whether it's ultrasound, biomarkers, genetics, imaging modalities, what if we combined those and then took some novel approaches? We could detect lymphatic dysfunction, disease, even prior to the symptoms. And then we can intervene sooner, before it becomes chronic. Well, again, that was in 2015. And we haven't advanced that much. We're getting better, but it's 2024. So again, I go back to this present moment. Used to be the unimaginable, but ARPA-H has heard us and they want to do different. They want the lymphatic system to become just as important as every other system, which is pretty cool. So LIGHT is our first program that we've launched. It stands for Lymphatic Imaging, Genomics, and Phenotyping Technologies. And I'll soon explain why we called it that. And hats off to Josh, who came up with that acronym. The question is, what if we could make the invisible lymphatic system visible? The lymphatic system is just not a system to remove waste, as you saw with the crash course and Hank Green explaining how important the lymphatic system is. It is at the intersection between our circulatory system, our arteries and veins, and our immune system. It helps carry proteins and nutrients to our cells. It helps remove all of that excess fluid that gets trapped between our cells. And it also carries important immune cells throughout our body to protect our body. It also carries inflammation, and unfortunately, it also is the transportation for metastatic cancer. So if it's that important in health, imagine when it's not working properly. And what scientists have discovered is that not only it affects rare lymphatic diseases, lymphedema, both primary and secondary lymphedema, but now a whole host of other common chronic diseases are now associated with underlying lymphatic dysfunction. And that includes obesity, cardiovascular disease like heart failure, hypertension, liver and kidney diseases, of course, cancer, and autoimmune diseases, and even neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. Currently, what does a physician have for imaging tools? Well, the first thing they do is an exam, and it's pretty rudimentary still. We use a tape measure if a doctor remembers to use a tape measure. I met a wonderful woman this past week who showed me her arm and said they don't even measure my arm when I go to the doctors anymore. Many of you will be familiar with a procedure called a lymphoscintigraphy. We also use near-infrared imaging, which it shows pretty cool images, but it's not accessible to most, and it's not even FDA approved to be in a radiology clinic. Plus, it only is very shallow resolution and only shallow penetration. So it's not that effective. If a child or an adult has a central conducting problem and the doctors need to image deep inside our bodies, we have very, very invasive procedures called MR lymphangiography or a CT lymphangiography. The MR lymphangiography, again, many have maybe heard of it, but many don't have access to it because it's only offered in a few handful of academic centers. And while it provides high resolution and deep penetration, it's hard to get to because we don't have many experts, and it's invasive. You have to undergo a general anesthetic. And while we have these CT lymphangiographies, great, they're still experimental and not covered by most insurance. And we have no FDA tracers or contrasts in 2024 that are specific to our lymphatic system. And so the future of light, we hope, will be bright because we are going to focus on lymphatic structure and function. And the goal to ask our performers, those that are coming with the solutions, will be inclusive of, the accessibility, the affordability, and the ease of use. And they will be given all kinds of metrics that I won't go too in detail about, but we're going to up the game and hopefully do something that's not been done before. This table really represents a market analysis, and it represents not only that, but it really illustrates stunningly the limited diagnostic tools we have. If you look at the two top rows, which are our primary lymphatic diseases, lymphedema, both primary, which is inherited, and secondary, which is caused by something like surgery, trauma, infection, or our rare lymphatic tumors and malformations. In the pink, you'll see we have few biomarkers, few imaging modalities, again, highly invasive if we do them, and very few genetics. And sadly and stunningly, if you look at common chronic diseases, the last row, there's even less availability to detect early lymphatic dysfunction in these underlying diseases. So think if we had these diagnostic options, the missed opportunity we have now in earlier diagnosis for so many common diseases. And so the question is, or statement, we have diagnostic tools to assess all of our body systems except the lymphatic system. Why is that? It's because we really do need to make the invisible visible and forget making it underappreciated no more. But imagine if we did make it visible, we could be saving millions of lives. And so our program vision started with a problem, the one we all know. 10 million or more, a million Americans go misdiagnosed or undiagnosed because doctors lack the tools to assess lymphatic structure and function. And some of those hurdles include the fact we don't have biomarkers, biomarkers like labs to test. We don't have very good imaging yet. And we fall way behind, at least 30 years behind in genetic discovery. We're making strides, but we want to take a huge leap forward with LIGHT. And we believe that the LIGHT program, its success will provide a comprehensive toolkit that's going to allow doctors access to clinically useful tools to detect lymphatic dysfunction. So the lymphatic system in both health and disease. And how we broke that down is by what's called technical areas. So the researchers that come to us will focus on three main technical areas of expertise, those same ones that are highlighted by our gaps, our challenges, our hurdles. The first technical area is diagnosis and monitoring, and we do that through biomarker discovery. The second is better imaging, and the third technical area is prevention, prediction, and diagnostic confirmation. And how do we do that? Through genetics, epigenetics, and improved models of lymphatic dysfunction. And the key will be that we're not going to just focus on one of these technical areas, but ask that our researchers, the performers, center around imaging so that we make the invisible visible. And we bring biomarkers from technical area 1 and genetics from technical area 3 together with the imaging so that we have a comprehensive toolkit. So just to overall summarize, we identified the current state of the art. Rudimentary physical exam, we don't have very good diagnostic biomarkers, imaging's highly invasive and specialized, and we have out-of-date genomics. Those are our barriers. But with the technical expertise, we're going to come up with this comprehensive toolkit, and it might be a combination of these three areas. And this just shows that iceberg picture. We use that to show how in diagnostics, we have biomarkers, we have imaging, and in most body systems, we have a lot on genetics. In lymphatics, not so much, but we hope to level the playing field now. And just to briefly go through each of the technical areas in a wee bit more detail, and I won't spend a lot of time on limitations and approaches. That is focused for our researchers and will be discussed at our Proposers Day coming up, which I'll talk about, but it's our goals. So we hope that by the end of the program, we are going to be on the journey of creating FDA-approved biomarkers. They can be both at the cell level, so through blood, or even through physiologic, which means wearable diagnostics. We also are going to look at imaging, and we want to develop approaches that are less invasive, easy to access, and that assess not only the peripheral, the central, but our organ systems, which we haven't done so far. And then finally, for the genetic part, we're going to take a giant leap forward with genetics, using all of the approaches that are being used in other fields like cancer. And we're also going to work on collecting data. So I encourage everyone that's out there to always think about participating, because data is so much power, and power is knowledge. So in the end, to summarize, today, in the current state of the art, patients remain misdiagnosed and undiagnosed. I hear you. We felt it as a family. But with LIGHT, we hope that doctors will have a comprehensive tool so that the journey to lymphatic diagnosis will be measured in minutes rather than years. And just to go back to a case study, this one hits home for me because it is kind of a summary of when I've been in the trenches with other patients and their families. This one is a 32-year-old who comes to the doctor, and she gets a history and physical exam, and the doctor runs blood tests and everything's normal, and she gets sent home and told she's fine. But a month later, she comes back with a belly filled with fluid. The doctors do lots of tests. She gets put through many tests, and it's discovered it might be a lymphatic problem. But in her hometown, there's no access to available better treatments. And now it's almost too late in the process to really help or intervene because the diagnosis was not made. But we envision that with LIGHT, we're going to be on this quick journey, we hope, where doctors just may have tools such as biomarkers, labs, that can give them even an inkling that this might be a lymphatic problem, and that they have imaging that they can send the patient down the street or at least to the nearest hospital and get that done in a less invasive way and make a diagnosis, because now we also have improved genetics. So the impact, we hope, in 5 years will be that new lymphatic diagnostic tools that are in combination with our new imaging advancements, including novel biomarkers, genetic testing, is going to lead to earlier detection of that underlying lymphatic dysfunction, and that it's going to result in dramatically improved early diagnosis that we can intervene sooner. But not only for primary lymphatic diseases, but because ARPA-H is agnostic, we're also going to be able to utilize those tools for common and serious other conditions like heart failure, chronic kidney disease, neurologic diseases, and even cancer. And then in 10 years, what we really hope is that we have a platform now to shine a light on the lymphatic system, so much so that lymphatic system has its own discipline, that we have lymphatic medicine, and that doctors not only will have clinical diagnostic tools, but the diagnostics are going to inform therapies. And so stay tuned. This is our first program. We're working on much more, fingers crossed. We need everyone's support. Show your strength and your voice and advocacy. And I'm grateful for the entire community because it's because of the community that we have Michael here with us. With that, I share with you Proposers Day. This is really for our potential proposers, the performers, who plan to submit an abstract, which is now called Solution Summary, to ARPA-H for this funding opportunity. It is hybrid. It will be on May 21st, and it will be in Philadelphia. The venue is coming. I think hopefully today we'll have been able to announce that part of it. But the registration closes on May 14th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Here are the QR codes. If not, please go to our website on ARPA-H, because there you will see how to apply to come to Proposers Day. And Finally, if you're a researcher or clinician out there or industry or pharma, please consider signing up for our teaming page, where we again utilize that for encouraging teaming for this program. And as well, we hope to see you at Proposers Day so that we can give you a much greater in-depth in what's expected. And with that, I will stop sharing my screen and thank LE&RN for this great opportunity. And I'm looking at some questions. It says, hello, Dr. Steele. Thank you so much for the great presentation and your efforts to bringing awareness and funding to lymphatic dysfunction. Is the lymphatic division at ARPA-H also considering funding research that are working towards treatment or cure? It's an excellent question. And of course, you can imagine as a mom, I have a great passion to find improved treatments, well, even as a doctor, but I have a great passion to work on the therapies as well. Again, noting that ARPA-H this is a portfolio on lymphatics. The first program has been launched in diagnostics, but that's not to say we're not working very hard right now to identify other programs to come out in the future. We do believe that diagnostics and therapeutics parallel each other, right? By being informed early in the diagnosis of the disease and getting on it quicker, we can prevent downstream bad effects from things like lymphedema. So we're focusing on diagnostics, but at the same time, the diagnostics will inform our therapeutics. And when we start with therapeutics in the future that are improved, then those therapeutics will inform diagnosis. So they do work together, and we hope that in the future, there's going to be more to come. Are research required to attend Proposers Day to apply? Great question, Sarah, and hello, Sarah. No, you do not have to attend Proposers Day, but I will suggest that whoever does intend to apply, please read the official solicitation. It is long, but all of the rules are there, and we have to follow all of those rules. It's located on sam.gov, but you can also find it on the ARPA-H web page for Light. Next, what will, and this is from Dr. Sibley, what will researchers and clinicians need to prepare for Proposers Day? Great question. You don't really need to prepare. You need to prepare to come to engage with people you've never met before. The idea for Proposers Day really is for the performers, the potential performers themselves, to get to know other people that they potentially would never have met before, that might have technology to bring to your technology that's going to really advance the field quickly. As I mentioned at the beginning, we tend to be such hard workers. Dr. Sibley, I know you are. And because we're working so hard as clinicians, trying to do research, we have our heads down, and we don't have the time to meet all the incredible people out there. My experience taught me very quickly that there's incredible people out there, and we got to bring them together. So Proposers Day is kind of like that. It works to bring people together, to learn about your technologies and who organically could work together. I can't tell you who to work together, but hopefully organically, you're going to find your peeps to make this really great work. And so Proposers Day gives you opportunities. We have lightning talks where you get 3 to 5 minutes. We're not sure if we've got so many now, whether we'd have to limit to 3 minutes, but one slide, tell all about your technology. We have posters. If you come in person, you can put a poster up. And then we have speed dating. We're calling it speed networking. And that is so that we can, again, get enabling technology that might not otherwise have even come into the lymphatic community there at the table. I hope that answered it. Okay, another one. In my work in clearing the lymphatic system, I noted the skin clarity improves. I'm wondering if this can be assessed as a diagnostic tool. I've also located places where the lymphatic system is blocked and impacted by multiple medical conditions. You are so right. And Margot, you are correct in many ways. One, yes, lymphatics are located everywhere in our body. Up until about 5 years ago, we didn't even know they were in the brain, but we now do. So lymphatics are important for everywhere, every one of our organs. And so more and more attention is coming to the lymphatics because scientists are discovering that, in fact, the underlying cause of some of the most common diseases, or at least the association with, is really lymphatic dysfunction. I hope that answered it. But really great, and an example of where listening to someone with the disease is important. The next one is the Proposer's Day expected to be a full day? It is going, and that's a great question. And then they ask, can you fly home in the evening, or do I need to plan that flight to fly the next day? Great question. We are running this from, the registration starts at 8:30 in the morning. We're hoping to have you out of there by 4 p.m. If you want to hang around afterwards, you may, but it is one day only. So yes, we're all planning, because we've got so much work, to head home after Proposer's Day the same day too. Okay, next one. Has AI and machine learning, so artificial intelligence, been used to try to retrospectively collect and organize available patient data and information, test results, treatments, outcomes, other data from a broad range of sources? Great question. That's from Eugene. And Eugene, I'm glad you mentioned that, because in the lymphatic space to date, it really has not. But again, we hope to change that. One of the things we are expecting all of our performers to include is some sort of computational intelligence, or AI, machine learning. So there you have it. And we're also going to encourage that we collect the data in a collaborative way. Okay. Is it possible to participate in Philadelphia via Zoom? Yes, it is a hybrid. Note though, Margot, this is for performers. It probably will be a little boring for you as a community member. I promise that down the road, we hope to engage with the community very quickly and run some possible workshops. But at this time, the Proposer's Day is meant as a goal to bring the researchers together to form teams, and to also understand the exact request from them from the solicitation. How many collaborators per proposal is considered ideal? Is there a recommended minimum or maximum? Excellent question. There is no minimum or maximum. What we're asking for is that you demonstrate that each of the collaborators you bring in brings with you that technical expertise, right? So you might need a specialist in AI. You might need a data management person. You might need, if you're doing imaging, someone who's doing the biomarkers. That is up to you. The key is that you come in with the boldest, audacious proposal that could happen, could be done if we tried. What will Proposer's Day be like for those who need to attend virtually? It's a great question. Unfortunately, it's better if you can attend in person. We are thinking of strategies and ways that we can get the virtual together. And so we might try to do some breakout rooms. I'm working with our team right now, and hopefully IT can come up with breakout rooms. I'm also thinking about whether we could put posters up electronically, but I can't promise any of that. So right now, if you attend virtually, it kind of ends at lunchtime around a little after 12:30. And then we go into more of the in attendance, because that's when our speed networking and poster session will be. But again, stay tuned. I'm trying to figure out how we can get more people together virtually. Margot, I am so sorry. You are a performer. Sorry that I assumed. Okay. How will performers interact with hubs? Great question. The hubs are there to create a consortium of what's called spokes. The spokes are organizations, are patient advocacy groups, are investors that have decided to come in and be part of the ARPA-Net network. And so while they can assist with programs, they can also apply to programs, my understanding is. But if they don't apply, it might be, for example, that a performer wants to do a survey to understand patient commitment to a technology. You can use one of the hubs and survey all of the spokes. If we have a great technology and an investor is part of that hub and spoke, we might invite the investor to come see your technology. If you want to do IV&V, and for those who are out there that might not understand that, that's where we validate a technology. You can hire one of those spokes or work with a spoke. If you want to engage the communities, you might work with one of the spokes in the hub. I hope that answers your question. And then the next one is, hello, Dr. Steele, how does ARPA-H plan to delineate biomarker imaging lymphatic diagnostic tools from disease-specific lymphatic dysfunction? Will they prefer disease specificity for streamlined diagnostic research? That one's a mouthful. So if you go to the solicitation on sam.gov, we have it very, very laid out for you, the technical areas and how you can approach it. We also have metrics that are quantified. We have told performers that if those metrics don't meet your technology, you may suggest different metrics, but you have to come in with a justification. And we are going to first ask you to concentrate on a primary lymphatic disease, as you'll see in the solicitation, and then carry that, if you make it to the next phase, into other lymphatic diseases or other common chronic diseases with lymphatic dysfunction. We also are going to ask that you specifically look at organ systems. I hope that answers your question. Okay. Next, and I'm running out of time. I love this. This was, I have a question as a patient and a researcher. Can rare disorders, and I'm not going to pronounce it well, but it's KFD, Kikuchi-Fujimata disorder, be categorized in this plan? How to connect with you, and they are doing some PET and imaging work. Okay, so the way to connect is to go to our webpage, and you will see that there is a email that you can email in. You can also go to light, LIGHT, at ARPA-H.gov if you have a question. And regarding your question about the specific disease, if you can justify that it has an underlying lymphatic dysfunction, there might be a way to either collaborate with other researchers or submit your own proposal. And with that, I think I finished all the questions. So with that, I would just thank everyone so very much. Again, if you have any questions for the LIGHT team, you can reach out to LIGHT, LIGHT, at ARPA-H.gov. If you go to the main ARPA-H page, they have a Vitals newsletter that comes out, I think weekly, if not more, and it provides all of the new availability in programs. And then just one last thing that I totally forgot. If a researcher out there has an idea and it doesn't fit diagnostics, for example, in the lymphatic world, there is an open call for any topic, and it's under the ISO, and that's Innovation Solutions Offering. Again, go to the main homepage, look at what the programs are, and an investigator or team of investigators may apply through that program as well. It's different than the LIGHT program, but if you have a great idea and you think it meets the ARPA-H requirements, you can apply through that as well. And that's all.